You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad that you have joined me. So, to the elections last night, Super Tuesday. Kind of a surprise, right? Everybody thought that Sanders was going to go and win a whole bunch of states, and it was the other way around. Biden kind of pulled it off there. Kind of a big surprise. Which kind of tells you what we've been talking about all along. Will Americans support socialism? I'll be right back after this commercial.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So elections is all about numbers, and I've been telling this on this podcast for several months now. It's all about numbers. It's about the delegate count, not your popularity, but the delegate count on what you get out of that state, if you win that state. So right now, if we look at last night's totals, remember you need 1,991 delegates, not votes, delegates, to get you to win that convention, that Democratic convention. Now, remember, we're talking about it's Democrat against Democrat at the moment. It's not Democrat against Trump. It's only Democrats against Democrats. And so we saw some really bad things happen last night, especially to Elizabeth Warren. She really failed, and she needs to drop out. She only has, out of all those states that they've been in so far, she only has 50 delegates. That's it, just 50 delegates. Now, if you look at Joe Biden at the moment, he is sitting at 453 delegates. Bernie Sanders is at 382. Elizabeth Warren at 50. Michael Bloomberg, 44. And all the rest of them, except for Tulsi Gabbard, has dropped out, and Tulsi only has one delegate. So, you've got three people who might do something. But honestly, you've got, when Michael Bloomberg only has 44 delegates, it's going to take a lot of millions of dollars more to get him to another 40. I don't know. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have the appeal, and he's just really dull. Especially after you saw him on that video yesterday, licking his fingers and eating donuts out of a box for the office. Now, that was gross, okay? I don't care how many billions of dollars you have, you don't lick your fingers and put it back in the donut box. My gosh, that's something I would do. Oh my gosh, you just have to laugh at these people, I tell you, because they think they are so great, and in actuality, they're not so great. They have problems just like the rest of us have problems. So let's look at the states, okay? Because now Bernie Sanders has won California, and there's 415 delegates from that. And they're still counting that state. So right now he's got 72 delegates. Warren has 7 delegates out of there, and Joe Biden, he has 21 delegates, and then Mr. Bloomberg has 8. So there's 307 more delegates that's sitting there, and they've got to count through all of those ballots, especially the absentee ballots and everything. But if you look at Iowa was something. Biden only got 6 delegates out of that, but Sanders got 12, and Warren got 8. So he was up right there. And then when they got to New Hampshire, Biden didn't get anything. And Sanders got 9 delegates, and Buttigieg. But Buttigieg's gone now, so we don't have to worry about him. Then in Nevada, Biden got another 9 delegates, and Sanders got 24. But then when it came down to South Carolina, that's when Biden kind of turned it around. He got 39 delegates, and Sanders only got 15. But then Alabama, that's when the numbers start going up again. Alabama last night, Biden got 40, Sanders got 7. American Samoa, that all went to Mr. Bloomberg. Arkansas, Biden got 16, Sanders got 8. California, right now we're at 21 for Biden and 72 for Sanders. Colorado, 9 for Biden and 20 for Sanders. And then it begins to change again. They tied, Biden and Sanders tied in Maine with 8 and 8. And then Massachusetts, Biden got 34, Sanders got 28. Warren only got 17. She couldn't even win her own state. That's the problem. She could not even, they don't like her there. They want her gone. And she should be gone because she's really way out there. She's a Looney Tune. Then you got Minnesota, where Biden got 38, Sanders got 26. North Carolina, 56 for Biden, 26 for Sanders. Oklahoma, 21 for Biden, 13 for Sanders. Tennessee, 28 for Biden, 15 for Sanders. Texas, 56 for Biden, 54 Sanders. Utah, 1 for Biden and 9 for Sanders. And then Vermont was 5 for Biden, 11 for Sanders. And then Virginia was 66 for Biden, 31 for Sanders. So as you can see, everything was pretty much over onto Biden's side. He did very well all of a sudden. And a lot of those states that he went into, he didn't even campaign in. He didn't even go into those states. But he won those states. So you have to realize that this is really a decision that the Democrats are making. Once California numbers come in, it's going to be pretty even between Biden and Sanders. So right now, you don't even have a clear winner. You don't. You just don't. Because you have to go by the delegate count, and you can't go by the population, the popular vote. Okay, you are talking about the delegate count. How many delegates that are going to go there to the convention and vote for you? That is the whole question. So once California comes in, it's going to be pretty much of a tie, which isn't very good when you notice that Sanders has been having all these big events, but they've been mostly young people. And the problem with young people is that they don't participate that well in the final election. Biden will not win against Trump because he's just not there. His debate policy, his debate style, just isn't there. And then Sanders won't do it because he's a socialist. And as you can see by last night's vote, no one wants to vote socialist. So the states that Sanders won in were states that are very left-leaning. California is socialist. They are a socialist state. Vermont is a very liberal state. Utah is a very liberal state. Look at Mitt Romney. You're not quite sure what he is. Is he a Republican or is he a Democrat? Pretty much all the time he goes Democrat. Colorado is a liberal state, one of the most liberal states. So where he won was in liberal states, but all the other states that really matter, that are really important, are the states that said, no, we do not want socialism. We don't want a socialist representing the Democratic Party, which is a good indication as to what's going on. Because when we get to the next states, let me tell you what the next states are. Let me turn back on my cell phone here. Always goes off with that security thing, right? The next states are Idaho, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, in the state of Washington. Now, out of all of those states, Washington, the state of Washington, is probably the most liberal. He'll probably do very well in the state of Washington. I'm talking about Sanders now. So you've got those states coming up. And what I think we're going to see is that once again, the message is going to be sent from all of those states that have to vote next Tuesday that they don't want socialism. And definitely, if you look at the Republican side, not one single one of them wants socialism. So Bernie Sanders has had a message that went very well with the young people. They loved that message because they were promised that their debt would be forgiven, their school debt would be forgiven, that they would be getting free college education in the community college setting, and a whole bunch of other free this and free that. So the free message went very well with the young people. You got to realize that when you're young, and if all of us can remember back to when we were young, our political thought was much different. I grew up in the Vietnam War, so I was going to school during the Vietnam War. And that was a very free, open society. Make love, have peace, make love, not war. That type of society. So we were all in this world of anti-everything, anti-war, anti-politicians, anti-everything. We were anti-everything. And the problem is when we grew up, and then when we had to go to work and actually having to pay our bills and paying off our school debt, paying for our houses and our mortgages and our insurance plans and our child's education and everything else that goes along with life, our life and our style of thinking changes because now we're in this real world where we have to defend for ourselves. Back in our college days, we had our parents defending us or taking care of us. When we need our wash done, we'd go home and get our wash done. If we needed any money, we'd beg for money. So that was lifestyle. Now for me, I grew up differently because I had to put my way through college, as I've said before. So I had 3 jobs trying to pay for my college. But now we have a different society where people think that you should not have to work that hard for anything. And so they get confused as to what is right for the nation and what is good for them. Because when they hear that their education is going to be paid for by a politician, they love that politician. Has nothing to do with what he looks like. It has nothing to do with how old he is or what his age is. Has nothing to do with what sex they are. It has to do with the word free. It has to do with the word, okay, my education is going to be taken care of. I don't have to worry anymore. I can now take that money and do something else. I can go out and play. So it changes. You know, Americans have changed over the course of the years. In order for us to be successful, we had to work our asses off, trying to succeed, trying to work hard, trying to build something. I have been in private practice since 1984, and every single year I'm trying to build something. I have been building something ever since 1984. And I enjoy that process because I see what I've done. I take pride in what I've done, what I do, and I love my clients, and I love the direction that I'm taking my clients. But I don't think about how much money I'm making. I'm past that point. I'm no longer thinking, okay, if I do this, this, and this, and this, I'm going to make this much money. Instead, what I'm doing, because I have a different philosophy than what the new generation is really looking at, but I look at, okay, how do I better serve my client? How do I better provide them with the direction that they need to go? Money always comes later. Money always comes later because, listen, I'm not cheap. I'm never going to be cheap. But I don't focus on that part of the money because I know that by my hard work and working hard for my clients, I know that the money will flow. It will flow in at some point in time. So we've got to help these young people in our conversations with them and explain to them that free really isn't free. Americans have to pay for all that free stuff. Even though you go to the hospital and they may pay for the bill and everything's taken care of, you are still paying for that free stuff because they have all told you, Biden, Warren, Sanders, they've all told you that they have to raise your taxes in order to pay for all of that, what you think are free stuff. Any part of that that's being debt forgiven, that's going to be taxable to you too, because forgiven debt becomes taxable to you. Because that's money that they're putting back into your pocket. So it's taxable. Nothing is free. And so we need, as good Americans, after we've seen the results of Super Tuesday, and there really was a message there to the American people, we don't want socialism. We don't want this idea that government takes over our lives and our freedoms and our liberties, our health care, our education, our choices, our independence. We don't want that. What we want is to become Americans that strive to do great things for our families and for our nation. That's what we want to do. And that's what has been the goal of Americans for ages and ages and ages, ever since the beginning, when people landed upon this land and formed this nation. That has always been the goal and the desire of doing something that's worthwhile. Doing something that we can build on. Doing something that will benefit our families. Because our families come first, right? Always comes first. And that's one thing that's always been good about Americans, is that we've always put our families first and our nation first. We haven't put ourselves, our own individuals first. It's always been an effort to work together to get things done. But it's changed over the years, where it's now become a me society, and what am I going to get? What me, what am I going to get out of this? And the young people and the college age individuals have said, we want free education. We want our student loan debt paid off by the government and by the taxpayer. We don't care how much it's going to cost the American people or how it's going to hurt the American people. It's all about me. So we have got to, you and I as Americans, we have got to set a good example for one thing. But we have got to be able to explain what socialism is all about. And what the freedom to do and work and build and create and design and become independently financial steward of our own lives. We have got to be able to explain that in a way that individuals understand that this is not a me society. This is a we society, where we as a nation have got to think, how will it affect my neighbor? How will it affect my grandparents? How will it affect my child? How will it affect my parents? It's not about me and how the government and the taxpayer are going to pay off my education. But you know what? I, as an individual, signed on that loan document to go to school, to get that education with a loan. And now it's my responsibility to pay it off. And there are ways to pay it off quickly. But you're going to have to work at it. And that is where the problem becomes, because people don't want to work at it anymore. Anytime that I have a client that walks into my office and they say, we have paid off our debt, we owe nothing, I owe no credit cards, I own no student loans, my cars are paid off, my house is almost paid off. You know what I do? I stand up and I applaud them and I give them a high five and I say, you know what? You are the best people in the world. Look what you guys have done. As a family, you have paid off this debt. Debt is an awful thing. I have no debt in my life. I owe nobody nothing except my utilities and my rent, and that's it. I don't have any debt, and I'm going to stay that way because I don't want debt. If I'm going to get a car, I'll save up for it, and then I'll buy that car. I don't care about what my FICO score is anymore, to tell you the truth, because I pay everything off that I do in cash. And that is the way that you can pay down this debt. If you go into a cash basis mode and you ask yourself, when you go in to buy that new shirt, do I really need that new shirt? Because that's going to come out of my cash. I can take that same $30 or $70, whichever, depending the type of shirt that you're buying or wherever you live, and you say, I can take that money, I can pay off just a little bit more off my debt. You have to make good choices. You have to become good financial stewards. This is what this election is really all about. It's about being a free market society where you work hard and you become gainfully financially secure, or you become a socialist and want everything else taken care of for you. Your health care, your benefits, your education, everything. You want everybody to take care of you. So I encourage every single one of you, know the terminology of what a free market society is and be able to explain it within a heartbeat and how it benefits you and your family. And then I want you to understand what socialism is. No matter how they disguise the word socialism, they can say they're a progressive, they can say they're a socialist Democrat, they can say they're a liberal Democrat, but it all comes down to free stuff and the government having more control. That is really socialism. And you have to define it as socialism. And as you know, there are countries right now where people are rioting in the streets of socialist nations down in South America. And they say, we don't want this any longer. So last night's vote was really a message that Americans do not want to go into a world of government where they're in control of our daily lives, of our healthcare needs, of our educational needs, of owning the utility companies by the government. That is really socialism and communism, almost on the line of communism. So you and I, we have really got to know our terminologies and be able to explain to every individual that we come in contact with that is supporting socialism. We have got to tell them calmly and nicely and professionally what a free market society does to a great nation like America. And how we are leaders in this world, and how so many people want to come to this United States because they see free market, because they're coming from socialist countries, they're coming from third world countries. So we need to really focus on our arguments. Because when we argue, we cannot get mad, we cannot get upset. We have got to be able to tell individuals a free market society and what it's all about, and how it helps me and how it will help them. That is our message. That should be our message from now until November when we vote. I know that the young people, they're upset because of what they see happening in government. And they may not like, I almost spilled my coffee there, my gosh. Because, when I talk, my hands are moving, okay? I think it's the Italian part of me, but once I get in front of this microphone, my hands begin to move in all kinds of different directions. So we have seen what happened last night in Super Tuesday. We have another few more states that are going to vote for their nominee to be a Democrat or a Republican. Right now, hey, Trump is doing great. He's getting all the votes. But now we're down to the Democratic side. And the Democrats have got to choose. Now, California has already chosen that they are a socialist nation. They have adopted the sanctuary state status, the sanctuary city status. They have adopted all the homeless. They have adopted not enforcing the laws of the federal government and also the state government. They have turned their cities into a welfare state practically. They have the highest crime rates. All of the cities in Los Angeles and San Francisco have the highest crime rates in the nation. And it's because they've gotten into this mode that socialism says we cannot deprive the criminal of their freedom, basically. And so individuals, if you saw that video of individuals who know that anything that they steal below $900 is not going to be a charge against them. So you see individuals going into stores and literally ripping things off and walking out, and they're not even scared because they know that they're not going to get charged with any crime. And they have a district attorney there in the city of San Francisco that enforces not enforcing the law. It is a very sad situation. So we've got to be able to watch California very closely because it truly is a socialist state. I had an argument the other day, and the individual said, California is not a socialist state. Now, he was from Colorado and a Bernie Sanders supporter. And I said, so San Francisco is the most socialist state. Because they go after the innocent person, but the individual who is not obeying the law and who's sleeping on the streets, who is pooping on the streets, who is shooting up dope, which is illegal, and they're giving them new syringes to use to shoot up dope. And you've got a high tax rate. Do you realize in this election yesterday that people were voting on 200 new taxes for the state of California? 200 new taxes. Socialist states tax. Socialist governments tax. And they tax very highly. 50% of Californians' budget goes to taxes. They cannot afford to buy a home because they don't make enough to buy a home. They cannot afford health care unless they go to a government source because they can't afford health care. So you see more and more people moving out of the state of California because they don't want to be in a socialist environment where the government has so much control over you. They just adopted AB 5, which said you can no longer be an independent contractor. You have to be employed by someone. That's the state telling you how you should run your business life. So people lost jobs. I'm telling you, listen, if you live in California, why are you not looking at another state to move to? You have got Nevada, you've got Arizona, you've got Florida, you have got Texas, you have got all these states that are pro-you. They want you there. They love you there. And there's no state income tax. The housing is much lower. The gas prices are much lower. You have a much easier lifestyle than in California, where you're fighting the freeways and you're fighting the government and you're fighting the franchise tax board and you're fighting constantly all day long. When you could move to even South Carolina, if you went to South Carolina, you can still find a house there for $75,000 if you want to live outside of the city. You can still, I have a house there right now. 3-bedroom home on 1.3 acres for $165,000. Beautiful southern front porch on it. Places where you can park your vehicles. It has a 2-car garage, and then it's got a garage beside it, and then it's got another storage shed in the back. You could live very happily. And let me tell you, the property taxes on that, $500 a year. $500. And so I ask you, why in the world are you staying in the state of California when you are paying through the nose just to live there? It's ridiculous. You could live in Florida, South Florida, and be close to Orlando, and still be able to buy a nice house for $200,000 instead of $600,000 in Los Angeles. So this is my question to you. And my final question of the day before I log out. Are you a socialist? Or are you a free marketer? Do you believe in the free markets of people being able to control their lives? Are you a socialist? Or are you a capitalist? Do you believe in the free market system? That is a question that you have to answer. You have to ask yourself that question. What am I? How do I believe? What do I want for this country? What do I want for my mom? What do I want for my dad? What do I want for my neighbor? How will my decision affect them? Are you a socialist? Or do you believe in the free market? If you have any questions or comments, send me a text at 818-252-5682. 818-252-5682. Listen, I'll talk with you soon. Everybody go out. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.